Hello, welcome to the Chazz Palminteri podcast. We have a great show today and we have a great guest, but I will not tell you who it is until I tell you some things about what's going on with my site, chazzpalminteri.net. Okay, we have some really, really great things here. This is for the guys, okay? This is really, well, not just the guys. I mean, the girls could buy this too. But guys, if you buy this for your wife, for Christmas or for anything. Look, one of the great ones. We have a new hoodie, and it says one of the great ones with Bronx tail in the front. Guys, if you buy this for your wife, you'll be in. You can go out with the guys on a Friday night. You can go to Vegas with the boys. You just tell her that she's one of the great ones. No, seriously. It's a great gift for Christmas, or it's a great gift just for any time. Also, one of my new shirts that are coming up. Check this out, okay? This is on the long sleeve T-shirt. Is it better to be loved or feared? With a Bronx tail in the front. Also, on chazzpalminteri.net, we have the original poster that I do for my one-man show. If you'd like to see the schedule of the one-man show, which I'll be doing for 2022, go to chazzpalminteri.net. I'll be appearing all over the country. I'll be in Staten Island, too, at the historic St. George Theater. Check that one out. That's going to be fun. Okay, here it is. Okay, and, of course, and wait a minute, it fell down over here. The saddest thing in life is wasted talent. My father wrote this on a card. If you saw the movie, you know the story. Put it in my room, and all I did was work hard not to disappoint him. And I said, I will not waste my talent. You know, I had this card, and I put it in my son's room when he was born, and my daughter, and I kept it there. And as they grew up and went to school, you know, elementary school, then high school, and they kept looking at this card. I said, you have to follow this card. My son went to the top musical school in the country, in the world, Berkeley School in Boston, graduated. And my daughter right now is at the University of Michigan, the top musical theater school in the country. Yeah, I have my cup, Michigan, go blue. And so I can only say it worked for my kids. And I'm sure it could work for you. Or it could be to anybody that you want to inspire. And you can pick this up on my site, chazzpalminteri.net. If you have questions and if you like to do a one-on-one with me, you can go to the site. I do a one-on-one if you want to talk about your career and you need some career advice, or as an actor, as a writer, anything like that, just go to chazzpalminteri.net. Hi, welcome to the Chazz Palminteri podcast. We have a wonderful guest on today. Wonderful. She is one of the hottest young comedians out right now. She is like, I saw her recently, and, you know, people were falling in the aisles. She's hysterical. She's funny. She was on, she just recorded an album with a bunch of great comedians called, what is the name of it again?
Live from Uncle Vinny's.
Live from Uncle Vinny's. My guest today is the funny, wonderful Tara Cannistraci.
Thank you, Chaz. Thank you for having me. Thank you for calling me young. Thank you for calling me.
You are young. You are young.
Yeah.
Now, well, I always wonder, and I always ask this question. You know, I know the day I said, you know, I want to be an actor. How does someone just go, you know what, I want to be a comedian? How does this happen?
For me, I don't know about everybody else. For me, it was very young. I knew I was always drawn to comedy. My aunt told me, and I don't remember, but my aunt told me I was as young as like 2 years old in a diaper.
2 years old?
2 years old in a diaper, hitting the TV, just being like, Johnny. Like I wanted the Johnny Carson show at 2 years old, which shows you a lot about the way I grew up, that they let me stay up till 11 o'clock at night at 2.
Wow, really?
But, yes.
So, because I'm sure there's a lot of female, just I shouldn't say just female, you know, people that want to be comedians. Mm-hmm. And is it comedians or comics?
Oh, that's like gravy and sauce in the comedy world. I don't know.
But on the East Coast, they say.
I say comedian. I say comedian. I mean,
Yeah, I say
comedian.
Comedian.
I say comedian.
But like, what made you told us what made you decide to be a comedian, but
I didn't do it right away.
You didn't do it right away.
No, I suppressed it. I think I probably didn't think it was as attainable. I don't know. I was drawn to it. I was always watching Saturday Night Live.
Right.
I got into it a little bit in my early 20s, and then kind of stopped.
Right.
And then a show came on TV called The Last Comic Standing, and it was a competition for comedians,
right,
or comics, and I was uncomfortable watching it. I was like getting upset watching it.
Right.
Because I had yet to pursue it.
Wow.
And I remember saying, okay, I can't, the time is going to pay. Because I said, oh, I should have started. I should have never stopped. You know,
it's too late now.
It's too late now,
right.
I'm 27. I can't do it now.
Oh my God.
No,
like
I think I was 33 at the time, where I really,
right.
And I said, well, I remember saying the time is going to pass anyway.
Right.
And then in 10 years from now, am I going to say, oh, why didn't I just start then?
Right. Exactly.
So I went for it. I plunged.
Wow.
And I went hard because you had to.
Right. And the thing about being a comedian, it's like, it's the toughest thing in the world. It's I don't care what anybody. So at least an actor, I'm an actor, I could hide behind my characters. If I'm in a play and it's not funny, it's the play. I mean, I'm not funny too, but it's the play. But
I've seen your one-man show.
Well, my one-man show, well, yes. But being a comedian, I remember I did it for like 6 months because I just wanted to try it.
You did stand-up?
I did stand-up, yeah, many, many years ago. I did it at a place called Good Times. I don't know if you remember it, many years ago. And I did it, and, I was okay. Anyway, it just...
You're funny, and you're comedic, though.
I'm comedic, yes, but I just didn't have this thing to... I like hiding behind characters. I like writing. I like acting. And to be honest with you, to make a long story short, I didn't like hanging out with other comedians because they're just so fucking depressing.
It's so... The people that make everybody laugh, I know.
They're so depressing. Everybody is so depressing. I mean, one of the few great comics, comics that I've ever... was Chris DiStefano, who we both know, who's hysterical,
yes.
and probably, obviously, one of the hottest comedians today. But Chris is funny,
and
he's a great guy,
and he's great to be around off
stage. He's one of the few I've ever met. But most comedians, boy, when you meet them in person, oh my God, give me I got to get the hell away from you. You understand, am I right?
I do. I understand.
Yeah. So anyway, I didn't like it, and I didn't have it here, and I gave it up. But anyway, so when you first started, I mean, it's brutal, right?
I mean, I had to be pushed on stage. I would get shows and be like, oh, God, why did I do this? And I would, right before I would get on stage, I would go, this is insane. This is insane. I'm going to get on stage by myself with the intent to make an entire audience laugh.
Strangers.
People that don't know me.
Right. Don't you love when people go, I'm funny. I could be a comedian.
They come to me all the time.
Right.
All the time.
Of course. Like
everybody tells me I should do comedy. I'm funny.
Well, then,
and many people are. But it's a very different animal.
Very different animal when you get in front. You're funny with your relatives because they know the people you're talking about. Get up on stage and talk to strangers who are not in a great mood, maybe, and make them laugh.
It's an art form. You have to write.
It's an art form.
That's why they say it's all in the delivery. There are so many components to getting up on that stage.
Right. I remember Eddie Murphy saying to me once, I met him a couple of times, and he said in the beginning he did Richard Pryor, and then you find your own voice.
100%. You can emulate somebody that inspired you to do it. I loved comics that I knew I would never be like, but I would go and watch them and learn. I would receive an education from it.
Right. And I remember, Chris Rock. I did a movie with Chris Rock, who was hysterical. And I said to Chris, I go, what's the one advice that you could give a young comic? I never forgot that. What's the one rule that a comic has to know? And Chris, who's very smart, said, I would tell them, don't be afraid of the silence.
Oh, that's an excellent.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I never forgot that. And I said, wow. And it would actually help me with my one-man show when I was first had it in a workshop. Don't be afraid of the silence. If you say a joke and it bombs, just
keep going.
Keep going, relax, don't panic, and just keep going.
Because that silence could mess you up.
Right.
That happens early on in your set, forget it. If you get shook from that silence early on, the rest of your set, you're so in your head that you're not delivering anything. You're never present on that stage if that happens to you. And it happens, obviously.
It happens to everyone.
Yes.
It happens. You say a joke and it bombs. The one person who I really like, who really makes me laugh, we're talking about comics today. Anyway, Bill Burr. Bill Burr just kills me. Yes. He's genius. I think he's like the new Richard Pryor. He's just...
Right. He's coming out with specials
He's coming out with things that I never heard of, and I laugh. But I mean, okay, you're a female.
Yes.
Obviously.
Last time I checked.
In fact, an incredibly beautiful female.
Thank you.
And do you find that it's harder for a female to make people laugh than a male comedian?
I think there was a stigma surrounding women aren't funny.
That women aren't funny.
Women aren't funny. That was a stigma. And really for me, it was always a math equation. When I first started out, if there were, 6 comics on a show and, 5 of them were guys and it was just me, if I wasn't funny on that show, then women aren't funny. But, maybe 2 of the guys were only funny. Nobody ever said about the other men, well, men aren't funny.
Yeah. Well, I remember seeing you, and we have a friend, my best friend, like my brother, Phil Folia, who we all love and we all miss.
Adore.
And he kept saying to me, you got to come and see this girl. You got to come and see this comedian. And I said, Phil, I'm busy. I'm running around doing my life, my career. And he just stayed on me. She's playing here. It's close by. I'm taking you. I'm picking you up. I'm like, all right, I'll go. See ya. So he came, picked me up, and we went to see you. I think it was in
Yonkers.
In Yonkers.
It was Good Friday.
It's Good Friday.
In Yonkers. And I remember saying, Sonny's coming to see
yeah, right.
on Good Friday.
Right. So I came to see you, and I thought you were funny. I thought you were good. I said, no, Phil, she's good. He goes, well, no. She, we got to help her out and we got to do something for her. And I said, no, I think she's funny. And then I saw you. I know you must have really, was it a year later or 2 years later? Maybe
we did our first show only a couple months after that, but then the next one was like a year and a half after.
About a year and a half after. And Phil says, oh, man, she's working on her act. You got to come and see her. We got to hire her for this thing. And I said, okay, I saw her. She's funny. And I hired you. Now, I had on the show you, Goomba Johnny, Anthony Rodia, Chris DiStefano, and
Bob Magnotti.
4 great, really good, funny people. And you got up there. You were the first act, in fact, right?
Yes, wow. Great.
And you fucking killed. You remember? I mean, I was holy shit. What did she do? I mean, that year and a half, you must have just worked your ass off.
Worked my ass off.
On
you
your
have
act.
To.
I mean, the place was rolling.
Yeah.
And I never forgot that. And I says, oh, my God. And it was like, people had to go on after you. I mean, they were all pros and they're all good. But I remember it was a great night and you just killed. I mean, so I know it's been like now, I mean, with COVID, it's been a rough year. Personally and professionally.
Completely.
Right. I mean, personally and professionally. I mean.
Personally, my wedding got canceled 3 times.
3 times?
3. Yeah. First 2 were because of COVID. We,
What happened?
No. It was, a year and a half, we didn't live. We should have moved in the Palminteri household. First of all, there was plenty. We could have been on the east wing of this house, and we would have had plenty of space.
Right.
We were in a 1-bedroom apartment. Our house wasn't ready. Got shut down because.
You were building a house.
But we couldn't move in. Everything got shut down. Construction got shut down.
Right.
And there was a lot of quality time at home in a 1-bedroom apartment. I mean, I wasn't working really.
Right.
And
nobody was
usually
working.
he goes out during the day. Like comedians, we like our own, we can be around people at a certain point at night. For the most part, my day is me writing or doing things for myself.
Right.
And he was like, right here all of the time. Like, I'd be like, it's 12 o'clock in the afternoon. Why are you still here? And that all started in March. Our wedding was set to be in June.
Wow.
By April, he said, oh my God, I think we're going to have to pick a different date for the wedding. And I was like, oh, I think I'm going to have to bring a different date to the wedding.
Right.
We're not going to make this. But no, we did.
Now, so everybody's into social distancing right now, especially Italians, right? So we talked about, Italians. So let's talk a little bit more about Italians since we're both Italian. How do Italians social distance?
I'm sorry, this year was more challenging for us.
It's always yes.
We don't have boundaries to begin with, Italians. We don't.
Right.
What do you do? You walk on Arthur Avenue, you just wave at people when you go.
I can't wave.
You can't wave.
The Godfather destroyed it for me.
You cannot wave.
I got to kiss everybody. It drives me crazy.
Hug, kiss, pinch. My mother practically makes out with the butcher when he gives her a good cut of meat. We don't know.
Right.
She doesn't know to stay 3 feet back. I'm like, Ma, please stop. Get your tongue into Jimmy's mouth. It's just a pork chop. She doesn't know how to make that break.
It's hard for Italians because we hug. I always tell people the great thing about COVID, the one good thing is I don't have to kiss all these guys anymore.
Oh my God.
I don't. I could walk into a nightclub and just go, hey, how you doing, Louie? Hey, Jimmy.
It's my new favorite thing. I wish I could hug. I don't want to hug and kiss everybody anymore.
You don't want to hug
but
and kiss.
But it's part of our culture, and it is part of what makes us so receptive to others and more. It is a good thing.
It's a good thing.
But
it's a good thing.
We'll shelve it for at least till 2022.
I know Michael, your fiance. He's Italian.
He is.
Wow. He's okay. I mean, so
he's my first Italian, I should say.
Come on.
I talk about this. I do. I talk to this. Oh my God, you have so many subscribers. I'm probably gonna get hate mail if I say this, right?
Right. It's okay. No, go ahead.
Honestly, I never really liked to date Italian guys.
My wife said the same thing.
Italian guys, yeah.
I think I was one of the first Italian guys my wife ever dated. Yes.
Yeah. That's because John and I we like to speak for ourselves.
You like to speak
for ourselves.
What's the difference? Dating an Italian guy? Give me some example. No, listen, seriously.
I love it. Mike's Italian. I mean,
right.
But an Italian guy, I went on a date once with a guy. I mean, they have an art form. They can ask you a question and then answer it in the same breath.
Yes.
There's no need for you to even respond. I went on a date with this guy once. We're sitting at dinner. Italian guy, nice guy. He goes, how do you like that steak? It's great, right?
I know.
He goes, have you ever had wine like this before in your life? Never. I was like, who are you talking to? I haven't said anything. He goes, I bet you didn't even know about this place till I took you here. I know. You're welcome. I said, no, there's no way. There's no way that this is our conversation. What's funny about that, and I love him, but I reference that. I talk about that in my act, how I never dated Italian guys, and I do a joke about it. And then Sandy Blue Eyes.
Sandy Blue Eyes, yes.
Who I love and adore.
Right.
Your dear friend was at a show where I did that joke. And then immediately after getting off stage, I see Sandy. And without skipping a beat, he goes, oh my God, Tara, that was great. How are you? Good? How's everything all right? And I was like, did you just watch the joke?
I mean, Sandy, Sandy works for me and does my security and actually goes to all my shows and sells my merchandise too. And so he always said, hey, we had a great night, right? It was really good. How was the night? Great, right? And I'm like, Sandy, can I answer the fucking question, Sandy? But it made me think of that I remember you doing that.
And that's comedy, observing things.
Yes.
Obviously, I'm marrying an Italian guy. Obviously, I've dated Italian guys. But noticing those habits and those things that we do is what made it relatable, is what made that so funny to people. It's not insulting anyone. That's why you remembered it, because it's true. So you went back to it and go,
As soon as he did it to me, I said, oh, my God. Tara talks about this. I go, Sandy, you ask me questions, then you answer them for me. What a show you did tonight. That was really good. It was great. I go, okay. Oh, all right. I mean.
You had fun up there, right?
Right? I know you did.
Yeah, I know you did.
So this is your first Italian guy. So, I mean, you're going to marry, and you're marrying him.
I mean, I think so. In June.
When are you getting married?
We're set to get married in June at the Bronx Zoo.
The Bronx Zoo?
The zoo.
I've heard somebody else say that to me. It's supposed to be a beautiful wedding.
It was me a couple times. It just never happened. Yeah, you know what? I'm originally from the Bronx.
Right.
Talking to a very proud Bronxite.
That's right.
And I was so happy. Mike was originally from the Bronx. His parents were originally from the Bronx. So that was very important to me.
Right.
So I said, I want a Bronx wedding, but I don't know how to do a Bronx wedding.
Right.
Not in a catering hall.
Right.
So I figured there's nothing more Bronx than the zoo.
Wow. Now, in your act, you talk about Italians. Do you ever talk about politics?
It's so funny that you bring that up. I'm not a political comic, and I think that so few do it well.
I think you're right. I think you really got to know how to do it. If you're going to do it, you better do it well.
Right. And listen, and I think a lot of new comics, or for lack of a better term to even call them comics, I think they're going out there and they're starting to like make statements and trying to say things where they get an applause. A clap is very different than a laugh. If you're not Bill Maher or Nick DiPaolo, you don't belong talking about
comedy,
politics in your comedy if it's not funny. If you can do a well-constructed joke about politics,
right,
then that's different. But, I don't talk politics. I do now. More recently, I make a statement on stage because I think the last year and a half brought a lot of change and with cancel culture and comedy. And I think that when I say it on stage, I mean it with no political statement. And I say there's no agenda here. I just don't think comedy should be censored. Real comedy.
Oh, I agree with you.
And it almost always gets an applause. But at the same time, I follow it up immediately with a joke that skates that line. Right. Because I'm a comic. I'm not looking to make a political statement.
But you got to walk the line. And if you want to be funny, you got to walk the line.
Right, and you have to do it right, though. You have to do it. It has to be well written. It has to be all in the delivery. I've done shows more recently with newer comics that are just going out there and saying things because they think it's progressive or it's cool, and it's not funny. Like if you're going to do it, make it funny.
I remember Jerry Seinfeld said, I was watching him on a show once. He said, the more offensive it is or the more dirty it is, the funnier it better be.
100%.
Otherwise,
100%.
You have to match it with the humor as much as it's offensive.
I think we're getting too sensitive.
We're getting way too sensitive.
And I felt the resistance. I was in California last week and, say a lot of things about New York, but we're the comeback kid. Like, we're already, I feel like, light years ahead of some of these other places that I'm going to now as far as restrictions, as far as comedy being welcomed and
well, how do you feel about California, the difference in comedy from here in California as California?
And more recently on my show I had mentioned that, I don't think comedy should be censored, which in any club in New York City gets a round of applause. And I felt the resistance even in the clap when I said it.
In California?
Yes. And then I kind of went in a little harder at them, like about it just being comedy and to relax.
Right.
And when I got off stage, a woman came over to me, and she was so nice, and I'm sure her intention was good. And she said to me, "Oh, I think it's good that you gave us permission to laugh."
What?
And I said, without skipping a beat, and I didn't. I didn't mean to offend her if I did, but I said, "Oh, if you guys needed permission to laugh, then you shouldn't go to a comedy show."
Right.
And she just kind of looked at me.
Right.
It's just like I said about us being too sensitive. There's just certain things that.
Well, everything is getting everything. Everybody wants to cancel everything. Thanksgiving, Christmas.
They just said. It was just this week. They said 27% of Americans wanted Santa Claus to be gender neutral. That's
Santa Claus to be gender neutral.
That's too far for me. I mean, come on.
So
I said we all know Santa's always been a woman.
Right. Santa Claus is a woman? No, it's a man.
If you think about it.
Why?
Besides the fact that she buys all the presents.
Okay.
Right? She can never lose the weight in her midsection.
That's true.
Right. All she does is call out hoes. Right? Ho, ho, ho. And Chaz, I met Gianna. Right? She watches you when you sleep.
That's true. She watches when I sleep. That's right.
No.
I never thought of it like that.
It's a joke I make, but it's also, I say it to kind of point out the fact that, like,
Right.
we're crossing a line here. We're crossing a line. There's just too many things
There's too many things.
that we have to be careful about.
A lot of comedians, they won't appear in colleges no more. They just won't do it.
Yes, that's a big thing now.
They just say, you know what, I don't need it. I don't need it because every time I say something, I'm afraid I'm going to offend anybody. Even my own podcast, I go, what am I saying? I just like to be, you think about it, you just want to be free. If you don't like what I say, you don't like me, shut it off. Don't watch it.
Don't listen.
Don't listen. Don't watch it. But I think change is good, right?
There's some change that is welcome, and I understand that we have to evolve. Look, we're perfect examples. I love where I come from. I'm so proud to be from the Bronx, but I maybe evolved in other ways where some of my friends or family didn't, and I changed, if that's the word they want to use for me.
But change is good.
But change was good. Change was good for me. Change made me be a comedian, you know. Change has me here and doing this podcast, you know. Like there's good things with change. Like they're making dolls now.
Barbie dolls
that represent every, you know.
Right.
So that every kid feels represented. That's great. I didn't have that growing up.
Okay.
They didn't make a Bronx Barbie. Right? I didn't.
A Bronx Barbie.
There was no Bronx Barbie.
What would a Bronx Barbie do?
Oh, Bronx Barbie? She have different accessories like hairspray, chewing gum, a bad accent maybe. She wouldn't go out with Ken. No, she'd go out with Rocco.
She'd go out with Rocco.
He would do construction.
Right. I remember George Carlin saying, you know, now it's different. You know, a lot of the names are Hunter and Forrest.
Right. Yeah.
He goes, I know for a fact that I could kick Hunter and Forrest's ass. He goes, but I don't want to fight Tony and Vinny.
Right. That's 100%.
100%. You know.
You don't want to fight Rocco.
Wow. So you're back on the road now.
I am. I was in California last weekend.
Right.
I did Philly, Rochester this week. I'm home for Thanksgiving.
Right.
I'm happy to be back on the road. I am. I do.
Where's your favorite place on the road, you would say? Or do you like have a favorite
love Canada.
place?
Canada.
You like Canada?
Canada for me.
A lot of Italians in Canada.
And they want a female Italian comedian.
No way, really?
Yes, that's where I'm gonna make all my bread and butter. Hopefully, when they let me back in February. But
oh, you can't get back in now?
I could. I think I'm waiting till February though, to do a bunch of places all at once.
Wow.
But I do. I love Canada. They're
Montreal, Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know where I think I'm gonna be in Ontario.
Ontario.
A few different cities in February.
Wow. But as much as you love the road, you still have an appreciation for New York when you come home.
Especially after this last year and a half.
Especially after this last year.
Because we thought, you know, especially now being back on the road and seeing where New York really is and how we are and how we speak and how we get each other. And listen, I love Canada. They are so much nicer than us. Like that, as far as like
Really?
They're just, I always joke about it, but they really are just great people and they're so welcoming. But like a perfect example of how like there's nothing like this conversation right here. This is such an easy conversation for us because we're two New Yorkers.
Right.
So even the way we speak, the conversation can just flow. We get each other.
Right, we get
I know
each
what
other.
you're gonna say. I know what you mean when you say something.
Right.
I was in Toronto and I went to a store out there. And the kid behind the counter was really nice to me. He goes, if you become a member, I can give you 15% off this purchase. And I was like, all right, you know, sign me up. He goes, what's your first name? Tara. What's your last name? Cannistraci. He goes, what's your street name?
What's your street name?
Yeah, exactly. That's how I say. I go, my street name. I go, I don't know. I go, sometimes my friends call me T-Money.
T-Money.
He just looks at me kind of like how you're just completely confused. And I'm like, so now he doesn't answer. I already start overthinking it. I go, is this for a fun email blast? I go, put down T-Money for my street name. He goes, I'm sorry. He goes, your street name. He goes, what street do you live on?
Oh, wow.
And
what street do you live on?
And I was like, I mean, I felt mortified in that moment. Name. And I was like, and when I do that and I talk about that and when I would say that to other people from New York, they're first, just like you, they go, what does he want to know your street name for? Like that was
Nobody would ever say it like that.
Right. Well, we know street. They don't even. I don't even know if they reference street name the way we do. And so then I just realized. I mean, as much as I love it, there, like I said, there's just nothing like coming home and being home, and especially after seeing the way certain places are not moving forward. Businesses are still shut down in some of these cities I go to.
Right.
There's so many restrictions.
Wow.
Still, for as hard as we got hit. Really is as hard as we got back up. I know some people aren't thrilled with certain aspects of the city currently, but we are light years ahead. I think New York is its own animal.
Now, so you were born in the Bronx.
Yes.
So was your dad, obviously he was from the Bronx too?
Both my parents were originally from the Bronx.
Oh, originally from the Bronx?
Yes.
They were okay with you being a comedian?
My parents supported, really. That's where I was lucky. And I know you talk about this because I listen to the podcast, and you give the best advice when people ask you if their children,
should be in the business.
Right, tell my child not to be in the business. And what do you say?
I say, don't do that. I said, because there's going to be so many people telling them no and putting them down that they don't need their parents to do it. They'll just be on their side, be in their corner, and if they don't have it, they'll stop.
Right, because this business can tear you down so much that it's very easy to quit.
It's very easy to quit.
And I can say it maybe on once a week. I'll go, I'm done. I can't do this anymore, but you don't.
But you don't, because you have to do it.
For me, there's nothing. I couldn't watch a show 10 years ago before I started because it made me so uncomfortable.
Yes, but see, you proved that you could do it. Now you just got to you're doing it. Mm-hmm. So now you just got to work at it and get even better and better and just 100%. Keep on doing it.
Right, just keep climbing.
Keep climbing.
But there's gonna be, you're gonna take 2 steps forward and 1 step back, and that's, I'll have a string of just great shows and I'll feel so accomplished. And then there's gonna be times when you go, oh, this didn't feel right, or am I doing this right, or is this is this really what I'm gonna do with my life?
Well, what else would you want to do? I always think all right, life is about doing something you love and hoping that you can make money at it. And
now I've hit that point. But I think when you're first coming up, you go, am I crazy? When I was saying no to doing all the things my friends were doing because I had to sit home and write. If you really want it, you'll make all the sacrifices.
Right.
I made all the sacrifices.
Right.
In that year and a half, you said you saw me grow. If I, people who really support you, like my parents did, like my friends, my true friends did, they knew if they had to see me, they had to come to a show. Or, and that's what got me. Now,
do you, some people make fun of their husbands, wives. Do you make fun of your parents?
I do.
You do?
I do. My dad was an alcoholic.
Okay.
Or is an alcoholic because I don't think you ever are not one.
Right.
And I said to him very early on, because they tell you in comedy to make fun of what you know.
Right.
You're going to start at home, start within.
Right.
So, there was a lot of ways to go about, having a dad who, when you were growing up, that was an alcoholic.
Right.
And I went to him very early on and he said, Tara, talk about what you want. It's I trust you and it'll be fine. I said, I'm going to do it in front of you.
Right.
Because you're going to come to shows and I'm doing it in front of a lot of people.
Right.
And he's been to the shows where I've done with you and he's taken it like a champ,
Right. Could you?
I do. Yeah. I mean, like my dad's sober now. God, it's 15 years.
15 years sober.
15 years sober. And he told me that the hardest part about getting sober was when he had to tell me that he was an alcoholic.
Right.
And I felt horrible. And I was like, oh my God, Dad, I knew. I knew.
It's like you knew he was.
I'm like, this is 15 years. I'm 41. I'm like, when I left for school in the morning, none of the other kids' dads were sleeping on the lawn. There were signs, My childhood videos, it looked like him and I were learning how to walk at the same time. And I say, and I'll say that. I'll say my dad was the fun parent. I'll compare him to my mother. I'll say my father had no rules. As at a young age, I don't know if you ever did this with Gabriella, he would let me sit on his lap and steer the wheel when he was driving.
Yes.
Yeah, that for you. I realize now I was just his designated driver. But it. and you know what? I say that in front of people.
Right.
They go over to him after the show. They congratulate him on his sobriety.
It's actually a good thing.
And it works.
Wow. Who are your favorite comedians growing up? Do you have any favorite comedians growing up or even now?
Yes. So growing up, just like as far as like seeing the physicality of, and they were all women, Carol Burnett, Lucille Ball, even if they weren't stand-ups.
Right.
Seeing comedy in that form.
Right.
I was completely drawn to that.
Right.
And then I grew up in the 80s, so I was listening to Carlin and Murphy, like everybody else. I mean, how could you, there's nobody else to compare prior. Like those were
exactly.
But then as I got older, my favorite comedian, who is, they say he's a comics comic, was Colin Quinn.
Yes, he's brilliant. Yes.
Well, he's brilliant.
Yes.
And there's not part, like they say, watch the comic that you could emulate, like Murphy said he did prior. I was never even trying to be Quinn.
He's really his own style.
He's in his own,
he's his own style.
But he was a borough guy.
Wow.
So you heard the Brooklyn.
Right.
Yet he was brilliant.
Yes.
And to me, that was like, I would go and see him no matter where he was. Like, when he was working out his shows in bars in places, and I would go watch.
I've seen Colin. Just funny. Mm-hmm. Funny and brilliant, where he makes you think besides making you laugh.
Right. And his one-man shows, I mean,
and
you're the king of them.
And his one-man shows, yes.
You're the king of them.
Yes,
but,
he's great, man, great.
I think he's on his fourth or
fifth. In fact, I got to get him on the show.
You have to get him on the show. I'll be there that day.
I got to get Colin.
I'll do sound.
I got to get Colin on the show. You're right. You know, I got to tell you, a lot of great, like I told you, Chris Stefano and Colin. Mm-hmm. And you know who really makes me laugh is Nick DiPaolo. Nick DiPaolo is over the top. He is so over the top, but you know what? I like that. He makes me laugh.
He's a prime example of doing, listen, his podcast maybe is extremely different than his stand-up. Right. And more recently, and very recently, he is, you know exactly where he stands.
Right.
However, even if I agreed or disagreed with something he said, most of the times disagreed early on with some of his stand-up. It was always funny.
Always funny.
I would watch him, and I didn't care who he was making fun of or what the content was. He was brilliant.
It was funny.
And he was funny.
It was funny.
It was funny.
The thing that I learned something. Recently, I was at an event. I was at an event with Mario Morvera, the great Yankee relief pitcher, Mariano. And I was talking to Bobby Collins, who's been a comic for years, Bobby. And Bobby said, yeah, they want me to do 20 minutes. And I'm looking around. It's like an event with all these people yelling, screaming, walking around, Italians. And I said, is this guy going to go up there? Is he crazy? And he looks at me like, imagine this, but I promised him I'd do it. I go, okay, Bobby. So Bobby Collins went up there. I'll never forgot it. And he gets up there, Tara, and he starts talking. Nobody's listening to him. But he's just like, he's doing what Chris Rock said. Don't be afraid of sound. And he's smiling, and he's talking, and he keeps going. And I'm watching. I'm just studying this, watching it. Now maybe a quarter of the audience is starting to pay attention, and they're laughing. And I'm watching. He keeps going, smiling, never shook him. Half the audience. Do you know by the end of his act, the place was standing up laughing? But I just watched it and said, holy shit. Like anybody else would have said, I'm out
of here, right. I'm
gone.
Yeah.
You know,
I wanted to get up while you were talking about it.
Right.
I wanted to leave this interview.
Scary, but wow. I said, what a pro, So I admire you guys that could do this, that could get up there and just make people laugh and do it night after night. And I remember what Chris Rock told me. He said, Chaz, everybody bombs. Everybody. Nobody, if a comic tells you he's never bombed, he's lying to you. And so I remember him telling me that. And Jerry Seinfeld said that. Everybody bombs. Once in a while, something happens, it just doesn't work.
There were nights after I would have not a good set early on, and they still happen, but like early on when I wasn't confident, I didn't know I could come back from it.
Right.
I would watch comics talk about bombing. I would Google other comics talking
Right.
about it. Not like in the misery loves company sort of way, just in a like, it happened to them too. You're going to be okay. Like it was like my therapy to like go
Right.
online and listen to them say it
Right.
because it was hard.
It's hard.
Now if I have a bad night, I go, I'll get him tomorrow. Or you know, or I can, you know, there's a reason why Colin Quinn had the show Tough Crowd, because that's a term we use when it's just a tough crowd. You know, I did a casino last weekend where it was a casino where there were only like slot machines in the casino.
Right.
So the audience was not my,
Right.
you know, demographic, so to
Right.
say. And you know it's going to be rough.
It's going to be rough. You know it's going
And
to
you
be
got to
rough.
say, okay, well, you know, tomorrow will be different.
But you learn something from it, and you just keep
You
going.
learn something every time.
Well, I just want to say it's really great to have you on the show.
Thank you
You've
for
just
asking me.
no. I wanted you. I mean, because I have to say that you are just you're exploding. And for my people, my fans out there, if you ever get a chance to see Tara
Cannistraci.
why is that? Cannistraci, Tara Cannistraci. She is hysterical. She's funny.
Thank you.
Really funny. And if you ever get a chance to see her, go see her because she's absolutely terrific. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
So Tara, for people that want to see you, your social media, where do they go?
I had to cut Cannistraci out. I love my name, but nobody can find me on social media that way.
Okay.
So it's just at Tara Jokes. That's my website, Tara Jokes.
Tara Jokes.
That's it.
That's your website?
My Instagram.
Instagram.
Facebook, that's where you can find me.
Tara Jokes. And that, if they go on Tara Jokes, that's where they could find you.
I'll list
Where
my
you're appearing.
shows, where I'll be appearing, some jokes, some videos.
But you still go by your last name when
Oh,
you do
yes. Tara Cannistraci is my name.
Tara Jokes.
Tara Jokes?
You better be funny with Tara Jokes.
Oh, that I got them. I got plenty of jokes. You know that.
I know that. All right. So I want to thank you all for coming to my podcast, and I will see you next week.